Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising, and I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So, we all love the great outdoors, and we don't want to be bugged or be uncomfortable when we're enjoying our safe space, our home, especially outside of our home. This next amazing brand is a low-cost powerhouse brand where you can actually build generational wealth, even on a seasonal basis. And we get to hear about this today. So welcome to the show, Mr. Michael Moorhouse, the President of Mosquito Shield, and Kelly Macht, Director of Franchise Development, also from Mosquito Shield. Welcome to both of you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to see you again.
Likewise. Nice to see you both live on Zoom. And obviously, if you're listening at home to the podcast, you don't get to see our lovely faces, but you get to hear it. Certainly the amazing story of Mosquito Shield. So who wants to go first? Kelly, you go first. Ladies first. How'd you get into franchising in the first place? And tell us your great story.
Oh gosh, Lance, I literally fell into franchising. I was offered an opportunity. It was not in my wheelhouse, but sales was, and being a people person certainly was, and was offered an opportunity to work with franchise shows, the regional based franchise events all over the US. I'm actually Canadian. Not everybody knows that, but I've worked in the US franchise industry for over 10 years now. And that was actually where I first met Michael Morehouse. He was just developing the Mosquito Shield brand, was looking for an avenue to meet new franchisees, and he became an exhibitor of ours. So it is in fact where Michael met some of his very first franchisees. So we've come full circle now that I'm doing his development, and I've played different roles. I think it's really important people know that I've sat in their chair, and I share this often. I bought a franchise before I was in this role of development, and I did buy a franchise. I worked with a consultant and vetted opportunities. So I have a really great understanding and appreciation for the time and energy people put into this process and learning about different opportunities that are available to them. And I do like to share that and disarm them a little bit. I'm really not here to sell anybody. I really do want to educate and find people that are really good partners for this mature brand at this point.
Yeah, disarm is a good choice of words, because when a lot of people, myself being a consultant, when I have a lot of people come to me and say, I don't know what I want, but I know I need to be my own boss, it could be a very scary proposition, of course. So thank you for sharing all that, Kelly. And Michael, what's your story? Is that all true, what Kelly just shared?
Yeah, the funny thing is she kind of stole my thunder, but she said most don't know she's Canadian only until she says she's going to take somebody through the process. And then
every time.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah, then it's clear we know where she's from. But Lance, thanks for having us. And the interesting thing, I think, is part of my story is that this is still relatively, a new emerging space for a lot of people. They're learning about mosquito control for their backyards and the quality of life we provide. And this brand's been around for 22 years, and I've been with them for 15. So, wow. I've been again kind of fell into franchising that way by coming on board with Mosquito Shield. I had cut my teeth for many years as a GM in the new car dealership world, and I didn't really know, but I was in a franchise ultimately having to follow guidelines and brand standards and do's and don'ts. So I lived on the franchisee side in many ways. So, and then as Kelly mentioned, back in 2013, so we were just a local Massachusetts mosquito control company before people even knew it existed. And then I was tasked in 2013 really back in 2011 with building a franchise model and bringing it nationally. So we launched in 2013. And since day one, I've been involved in every single franchisee that's come on board with us. It's been a really fulfilling journey on that side to just see how lives have changed for so many people. And I say that all the time, that anytime that our brand is is part of such an important change, it's super meaningful. And so it's been a really rewarding 10-year journey on the franchise side.
Love it. Love all that. So let's start with, maybe the obvious. Tell the folks listening, we know mosquito control, but give a sort of a more in-depth description of what the franchise is all about. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, I'll take that to start, and then Kelly can backfill anything I miss. But I think I'd mentioned a second ago about it being a quality of life service. That's what we're providing to the homeowner. But at the same time, we look at our franchisees, and they're really our target customer. These are the same people that, they know the quality of life service they're providing, but the business opportunity provides quality of life for them. In probably 80% of our, system nationally, it's a seasonal business. So this allows the franchisee to work really hard for a set period of time, and then they can unplug and unwind. I like to be real and honest at all times. And I always tell people, because of the seasonality, there's a blessing and curse to this. The curse is the first 2 seasons, right? Because you really got to be open for about 18 months to have 12 months of service time in there, right? So it's like, yeah. But after that, you can grow this to a point of where you're generating 12 months of revenue in 6 or 8 months time. So it's quality of life that you're providing, but you're getting it back as you scale this business. So I think that is, it's not about, if you ask any of our long-term legacy franchisees that are super successful, they've been with us since day one, they never thought they were getting into a pest control or mosquito control company, right? They saw this as an opportunity that they would use as a homeowner, but a life-changing opportunity. They were all white collar, super successful people, but wanted something more, right? They wanted something different. Didn't want to be beholden to somebody above them. And they all took a leap of faith and left that security blanket. Some, did it over time, so they didn't have to leave their jobs right away. That's another great, luxury that this business provides. But I think that's sort of what, I think is so great about Mosquito Shield.
Love it. Kelly, something to add, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would chime in absolutely on what Michael's saying. I always love to kind of tout the brand as a lifestyle brand, right? It really can be many different things to different people. We do have an owner operator model, and some people who jump in and they're in the vehicle right out of the gate, and this is their new job. But I would say more and more people are trending to the idea that, they are looking for that lifestyle. They're looking for the flexibility. They're looking for, more time to themselves to do the things that are important to them and their families and their friends. And there's a lot of people who also love their current career, but they want to dabble in business ownership. And we're starting to see more of that coming into the system. People that are really, savvy, they're skilled, they've been in the corporate world for a long time, and they bring a really great soft skill set to the brand and to being able to scale this in their community and kind of have it all, right? And I think that's at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants it all, right? Yes. And we're really seeing people grasping hold of that and being able to fulfill their lives with those things that are most important to them through business ownership with Mosquito Shield.
Love it. So when it first started, though, was it just mosquito control, and then you gravitated to overall pest control, or how did that come about, and what is that?
Yeah, so we were mosquito control from day one. Quickly added tick control. We're out of the Northeast, right? So ticks are a massive problem in and around here. Mm-hmm. Like mosquitoes, they're growing and spreading into more and more areas over time. But there's regions that have really bad tick problems, and there's regions that'll never have a tick issue. So it's a great opportunity for add-on revenue for locations that have tick issues in their market. So same truck, same service, same visit. So it's just really, great, what I call share a wallet from the homeowner, right? So you're earning their business, and then you're getting more revenue from that one service. And then we just launched in 2023 Pest Shield, which is a perimeter pest service, mainly lands for spiders and ants. It's usually what freaks homeowners out. They tend to be really active and moving in the spring and the fall, when there's big climate changes, is when you start to see spider and ant activity. Again, same visit, same truck, same guy, just a great opportunity. And we really saw it as an opportunity to fill those pockets where there are not tick problems around the country, but we're well covered with our mosquito business, that same franchisee can appreciate that revenue opportunity, and again, provide a value to the homeowner, right? It's hard for pest control companies, and this is a confusing thing in this industry, to get into mosquito control, because you got to be out there so often and so frequently to really get good results, and it doesn't fit their model. But for us to bolt on pest, and it works really well for us.
Love it.
So mosquito, tick, and general pest is the focus.
Great. So let's talk about the investment. So from what I understand, the average franchisee almost has 3 territories. So what is that investment like, and who are you specifically looking for? Who do you know makes a great franchisee?
So in terms of the investment, Lance, I think one of the great things about this, and one of the reasons that people are able to invest in enough territory to kind of look forward 3, 5, 8 years down the road and think about the business that they want to grow into and be able to afford that now, is the business model and the startup costs. You have that initial franchise fee, and as you scale additional territories, you're in and around $100,000 for that investment on one territory. But as you scale into additional territories, you're really just paying that additional territory fee and perhaps having just a little bit of extra liquid capital available, because you're still starting with one vehicle. Doesn't matter how much territory you buy, you've got that one vehicle. You've got your one marketing budget, you've got one license. It's pretty much just one of everything which you need to get that business started up anyway. So making that investment in the additional territory doesn't become as daunting, right? And so we do see people looking at, and we work with them to build out the right amount of territory, right? For some people, one territory is the right amount of territory. And for some, more than 5 has been the right amount of territory, right? It really depends on what their goals are. And we do make sure that we work with each individual to tailor that to their plans for growth in the future, not just today.
I'm sure some franchisees get started and call you back and say, Kelly, I need a few more territories. I need more.
Yeah, you know what? It does happen. In fact, it just happened this past month. It was a brand new franchisee who did call us and had that exact conversation with us. And it is really, really exciting when that happens, because the other thing is, this is a mature brand, right? We do have some incredible major markets that are still available, the Nashvilles, the Charlottes, the Jacksonvilles of the world. But at the same time, if you're going into a market that is likely to get picked up, you want to think in terms of, is this going to still be available if I hold off for 6 months or a year at that point, right?
Absolutely. Well, describe who you're looking for and what this process looks like. Because clearly there's a process. It's a two-way street, the franchise selection process. You have to like somebody, they have to like you. How does that whole thing go?
Yeah, I think the brand is under the Franchise Fastlane umbrella, and we do a great job here of taking people through that process to give them the material and the information at times that are relevant through the time we spend together, right? We do an intro call, just kind of have a little bit of time to get to know each other, because what we're looking for, what I'm looking for, I've known Michael a long time. I want to find him some great partners for this brand. We're not a new emerging brand who's just looking to give away franchises to anybody who wants to buy one, right? He's really looking for great partners, people that are going to work with him and his team to grow the brand, grow the presence in the community and the national footprint. So I want to get to know people. We want to get them unit economics, some financial information, the FDD, the franchise disclosure document, and we have an incredibly robust validation process. You will get to spend time on scheduled weekly calls with the candidates that are in my pipeline, speaking with Michael, speaking with the leadership team, the people at our sales center, our marketing team. We even had the CEO of 5 Star Franchising, our parent company, with us earlier this week, talking about the bigger picture and the vision for 5 Star and how Mosquito Shield fits into that. And on the flip side, you'll get a call each week with a different franchisee, right? You're going to talk to men, to women, people in the North, people in the South, more legacy owners that have been with us for years and seen the evolution of the business, and people who just got started last year, and they can talk about exactly what you're going to experience over the first 3 months, 6 months, year of your business. And so we do want to provide that really well-rounded discovery process and allow people to go through it at their pace, but at the same time affording them an opportunity to kind of touch and meet with all of the people that are going to be part of their day-to-day within this organization. It is an absolute key part. If you are not validating in my process, I automatically don't see you as a good fit for the brand. You need to speak with people other than myself and the consultant to really, really understand if this is something that's going to benefit you and them in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then eventually they get to Michael. Or is there a discovery day? Is there an executive call? How
Yeah,
does that work?
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll touch on that a little bit because I think what we've learned over the last couple of years is, and it's funny that the Kelly mentioned partnership, because I've been calling it that for 10 years. As I really look at our Z's as partners, there's always going to be that Zor Z relationship at some point, right, where decisions are made and everybody's moving forward. But the point is, we're always pulling in the same direction, and we're looking at them as true partners. We do really well with husband and wife teams, Lance. I think that that's something that we've seen to really like hone in on. It's something that it gives one of them the chance to jump in full time, maybe while the other one maintains their full-time job, to give a little breathing room for them. They've been working together their whole adult lives on a household front, so they know each other's skill sets, and they partner really really well from that standpoint. But as they're going through their due diligence and process with Kelly, as she mentioned, every Tuesday at 4:00 I make myself available. But we will do a lot of one-offs. There's instances where they might have unique circumstances, and maybe it is they really want to know in their minds, if they want to structure a business a certain way, how do I feel about that, and how does that fit? And I always welcome one-on-one calls, because again, Kelly has her job, and it's to vet, because as you mentioned, we're interviewing them and they're interviewing us. It's a two-way street. And I make that very clear that, we want to make sure that it's a good fit, because at the end of the day, they might be well capitalized, they might have a great market, but, culturally it might not be a fit. And I think that's the most important thing to me. There's been many times over 10 years where we've turned away from a candidate that had more money than all of us on this call, and they just weren't, like, culturally they weren't the right fit. And that's not something, like, we've always had very measured growth as a brand over 10 years. We've never been in that take a check from anybody that can write it, because we knew that this was a long play for us. And having been the original mosquito control company, we wanted to protect that. So they have open access to the leadership team. We meet, like I said, every Tuesday at 4:00. Every Thursday at 4 is a different type of franchisee. But again, Kelly's really good at putting one-on-one calls together. So if we've got somebody from a very specific market, and we'll put them right in touch with that neighboring Z. So we work really hard to get them in a frame of mind that allows them to make, again, as I mentioned earlier, such a huge life-altering decision. You want to go into it as eyes wide open as you can. You should be super scared and nervous. Like, those are really important emotions.
Yeah.
If you're not, there's probably something, a little wrong with you. And I would pause on my own side saying, why are they not at all nervous about this? But there is a risk. I've always said this, that I feel like, it's, you've got to jump. It's our goal to take that, that leap of faith from here and make it here, but you're still going to make that jump. It's just trying to make it as manageable and being able to see the other side where you're going to land. That's our goal.
So if you guys are both thinking of your top performing, absolute best franchisees, your top 10 franchisees, all have in common, besides money, they're making money.
Yeah, I'll share it on my side, and then Kelly certainly can do the same. For me, what I see in our top performers are, they've got enough. They're not, they had enough, faith to open their own business, right? So they're not completely risk adverse, but they follow the system. That's where I see it, and I hear it from other franchisors across all industry, is that it's crazy that someone buys into a franchise and then wants to reinvent the wheel. And that's where I see, we have plenty of those, and they struggle the first couple of years. And then it's like, hopefully they course correct, and then they get on track, but they always want to dabble on their own in the beginning, which is a little bit of a head scratcher. So for me, it's following the system. That's what I see in our most successful franchisees. Is what I liked about it is they did everything we told them to do, and then they did some more on their own that we were like, well, untested, but if you want to try it, go ahead. And we let them do that because they did the core things that we knew worked.
Yes.
And that's where that's a differentiator for me in our most successful Z's, is that they followed everything we asked them to, and then they had, they were risk takers enough to try some other things as well in their markets.
Love it. Oh, that's great. Kelly, I know you have thoughts on that. You're talking to these people every day.
I do for sure. I think this is a system that has grown through the last 10 years. And there's been a lot of trial and error. There's been things that have not worked. And Michael's right. Like, you need to follow the process. They have tried all kinds of things. Some have worked well, some have not. There's no point in reinventing that wheel. They're at a point now, especially with the additional support, leadership, operational support coming in on the 5-star side of things. And with the size of the franchise system that's been grown, with the talent that is here, both internally and through the franchise system with our franchisees, they're at a point where you really do need to follow that playbook, because those that have come before you have gone through a lot of that growing pain. And now we're at a really great point in the business where it's so simple to just replicate. But I think one of the things that's really key is, and I'm always looking for people that are going to be willing to, collaborate. And I think a lot of that, and I say that starts with the validation process. Getting on those validation calls, meeting the leadership team. I never want to see somebody coming to or wanting to come to a confirmation day. I can't register them and have Michael say to me, hey, Lance, who? Like, who is that guy? He's never been on any of our leadership calls, right? I don't want that. I want people that are going to invest themselves in the brand, in getting to know other franchisees, and people that are going to collaborate on the other end. They're going to attend the marketing calls that are held regularly. They're going to participate with the new business success coach, who is one of our most successful legacy franchisees, who's going to work one-on-one with our new franchisees. Most brands have a business success coach. I think very few of them have one of their most successful franchisees to mentor those new franchisees, right?
Yeah.
So I want people that are going to be collaborative, that are going to embrace the people that are around them and what's come before them, and be able to take that and do amazing things with their own business.
Yeah, the collaboration is, having been a franchisee multiple times, the collaboration is something that most people don't even realize when they get started. I mean, if you get into your own business, you're truly by yourself unless you're paying for coaching support from some consultant that's helping you. And in a franchise, the bonus is all the collaboration. I mean, it is a team sport, and you don't build a legacy all by yourself.
Yeah, it's really amazing. We have owners who are on our validation calls on Thursdays, and they will say at the end of the call, if you guys become franchisees, like, reach out to me directly. Here's my cell phone right now. Right? Or here's my email address right now. When you become an owner, call me, because I want to talk to you about how I can help support you. These are the conversations that actually happen. And I see it happen. And then they come together at, the franchise advisory council meetings or regional meetings or things like that. And they're like, hey, and they're meeting somebody that they've met online even before they started their business. And that relationship building starts from the ground up before they're even a franchisee. I think that's so key.
I love that. So let's talk. You mentioned playbook. So how does that playbook sort of play out? You find the right individual. What is the ramp up period like? So you award somebody a franchise, they pay their deposit, they're in. Give me that. And how does the training go? How many months and years or weeks or days of training are there?
Yeah, that's another great thing. I mean, and it's not, we're not unique to this, as far as like home services typically lend themselves to low cost of entry in quick ramp, or a quick startup. Us especially, because you can be home based. All you really need is a place to park your van and a source of water, and you're off and running in this business. So even our most successful franchisees initially started out of their driveway. That's the amazing thing about it. And as Kelly mentioned earlier, people are buying extra territory after they get in, because they've realized that you can have 10 trucks and you're paying the same rent, same utility bill every month as you are. Yeah, so people are buying extra territories after they get in, because they realize how quick and easy this is to ramp, but your fixed costs don't change. So you're paying the same amount for rent, the same amount for utilities with one van or 10 vans. So that's the benefit of Mosquito Shield, home services in general, but Mosquito Shield specifically, is the quick ramp time. So when somebody new comes on, I mean, they can be up and running literally in 4 to 6 weeks time. It's that fast. So we have set trainings all spring. This time of year, we start to do one-offs as new owners come on. We'll pull together, quick trainings and get them up individually. Whereas in the spring, we're doing trainings with 25, 30 new owners at a time, new technicians. So we do a lot of those in the springtime. But from this point on, anybody that comes on within 4 weeks, they're going to be at the home office. They're going to spend a week with us. They'll either drive their van home or they'll have it shipped home. And then we'll even go and visit them on site after they've been up and running a little bit. But there's so much ongoing support from the home office. There's, weekly calls that they can dial into. There's a library. Again, having done this for 10 years, we've got a digital library of so much content that they can watch 24/7 on anything from, how to enter a payment into the software system, how to do your routing, how to change the spark plug in the backpack sprayer, like everything and anything you can imagine is at their fingertips and then a phone call away.
I love it. So how many franchisees are there right now?
I'm going to go with Kelly on this one. It's been, we've had epic historic growth over the last 30 months. And
it's a good problem when you grow that fast. You don't know the number. It
is. But I do know we're over 350 territories. We just crossed 50.
Got it.
Yeah, we're over 350 territories and over 145 owners or so. I have to do another check on that.
No, that's good. I just want an estimate, about 145 owners.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
145 owners. Yeah, 350, almost 360 territories now.
Talk a little bit about the seasonality and how that is handled with the franchisees, because it's a couple of components, obviously. There's quite a few franchisees that are what we call in the world of franchising semi-absentee owners, where they keep their day job, and work on the business 10, 20 hours a week or so. But how does the seasonality, what are you teaching them? I mean, there's just business development during the winter, making sure you have your accounts for the high season, so to speak. How does that all work?
Yeah, let me speak to a couple of programs that I think people wouldn't think of, but we're super successful in a prepay program that we do in the fall every year. So as their season's ending and as the homeowners enjoying the peak of the results, beautiful fall weather, no mosquitoes, enjoying their backyard, they have been all summer, they get a message sent to them that says, as an existing customer, Lance, no one's ever going to pay less than you. Sign up for next year and save X amount. And we see system-wide about 35% are prepaying for that next year. Now, we have locations that have 4,000 customers. So they've got 1,200 people paying them $600 so somebody do the math on that. $750,000 is coming in when you're closing the doors and turning your lights off and winterizing your vans. Now you got to grow to get to that size, right? But the point is that's a great program that we run every fall, and that runs past your closing date, because you usually do a second reminder offer in November. So you're engaged even though you're winding down. And then we do really well in the early spring, more like late winter, but they call them the spring home and garden shows. If you think about a February, March timeframe, people have been cooped up all winter. They go to the big home show or patio and garden show at the big convention center in their market, and they're walking up and down the aisles and they're looking at investing in a hardscape or a hot tub or new decking, and they're our core audience. So they just bought a outdoor fire pit and it's going to be $15,000 to have it installed. And they see our booth, and for a $500 show special, they can enjoy that fire pit. So it's just, so we do really well. So again, annual conventions, usually every January. So there's a lot of things that kind of happen at a nice casual pace, but are meaningful for the business. So it's not like you shut down completely. So there is some things that are happening in the off season, but it is a chance to recharge your batteries and then get ready for that, what I call 300 miles an hour come April, May, when it's just straight out.
So as we just sort of segued into marketing and lead gen, if you will, lead generation, let's continue on that track and talk a little bit about that. Obviously, everyone getting into a franchise, that's one of their first questions. Well, what does the brand do for me for marketing?
Yeah, love it. There's obviously quite a bit. We've got 22 years of doing this. We know who has the highest propensity to use this service. Not everyone's going to buy it. Even We make it very affordable. We've got, very low price points and great payment options for the homeowner, but there's still people that just won't put it on their list. Surprisingly, younger families with a ton of kids, they're not our target audience. They're never around. They're always dropping the kids off somewhere or running to games or
those poor kids.
Yeah, I know, right? So they're not necessarily our target audience, but we know who our audience is. We use the same mapping that Kelly uses to identify a territory, Lance. When you come in and buy, once you're an owner, we then use that same mapping and then look at you might own 20 zip codes, but we might only want to market to 3 of them the first couple of years to really make sure we're getting the real low-hanging fruit, which leads to route density. So your van's not driving around all 20 towns. So you're getting more visibility because you're in the same neighborhood. So they're seeing the van, neighbors are seeing the signs, they're hearing the backpack make noise, they're looking out the window. So we have to take all of those things into consideration. What we've learned over the years is that the 0 to 300 customers is going to happen from a lot of the efforts that you're doing in your community. We give you the playbook for it, but it's a lot of grassroots things. So it's penetrating the private, moms of wherever Facebook pages. Yeah. And getting in there and getting that network growing. It's joining your local chamber. So I mentioned you might own 20 towns, but we're only going to market to 3. I want you to adopt those 3 towns as if you lived in them. So join the 3 chambers, know what's going on, be involved in those communities. So a lot of the grassroots, we do our biggest, probably top 3 every year sales source of how somebody found us. So you sign up, do you mind me asking how you heard about us? I saw your sign. So signs in the ground, a big part of what we do. That gets you to 300 to 3,000 customers is a different game. It's paid digital marketing. It's a lot of paid tactics. It's really, we still do some very targeted strategic direct mail paired up with digital marketing. You can't do any one of these tactics alone. There is no silver bullet in this day and age. They say 8 to 10 touch points to move someone through the consumer funnel and get them to purchase. For us, also, Lance, a big part of this is timing because we call it point of bite. They're not, with the exception of the home shows I mentioned in February, people aren't buying this until they're swatting them away. So it's really hard to get someone to give you $500, $600, $700 in November, December, or February, March, right? It's got to be that April, May. So we watch weather, we watch, climate, we see what's going on, and we want all of our marketing to hit when they're out there for the first time. So we even look at, in small markets, we'll even look at like mulch deliveries. Winter homeowners, like winter landscape companies and garden centers busy delivering, because that's when people are out in the yard for the first time. We'll look at pool covers. When are they coming off and going on? That's your season, right? Yeah. That's your mosquito season, is if you've got a pool, your season is when you're taking the cover off and it ends when you're putting the cover back on. So all of our marketing is really smart when it comes to that, because it has to be. It's super expensive in this day and age to, get somebody's attention. So we really want to make sure that we are advocating on our Z's behalf to put those dollars in the right places, but most importantly, at the right time.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. It's interesting, Kelly, when you mentioned about so much, you guys have grown tremendously, have so much prime territory available. I started thinking as a franchise broker, well, where are there the most mosquitoes? But while that sounds logical, like Florida and places like that I've grown up with, so to speak. But then Los Angeles, you guys are super successful in LA, which I didn't even know. It's like, I didn't even know there was mosquitoes there. So yeah. It's just such an amazing business. So how does that work when you're having conversation with people about, potential performance? Are there mosquitoes there? Are there ticks?
Yeah, and I think most of the people that we speak to, they know there are because they're experiencing it themselves. But having said that, it is surprising. If you'd asked us several years ago about the viability of Southern California as a market for the brand, maybe not so much. Now we've got a franchisee, we've got 3 out there, but we've got one in particular who is, shattering sales records in contests, winning, achieving things. And she's really growing her and scaling her business quite quickly and making a name for herself with a service that has become much, much needed in her community. Some people, again, come to me with the preconception that this is something that you need in the South, right? Only people in the South need this. Well, to Michael's point earlier, this is a business born out of Massachusetts, right? Some of our most successful franchisees are up in the Northeast. That's where many of our legacy owners are from and have developed huge businesses with us. And Michael and I were talking earlier this week about Minnesota. Michael, the situation you have with your Minnesota owners there. Tell Lance a little bit about this.
It's great. We've got two owners that kind of cover the whole metroplex of the Twin Cities, and one came on in 2014, one came on in 2015, and they've really kind of been neck and neck for a number of years, and battling each other out. Minnesota just in the past 2 weeks went through an epic all-time mosquito breakout. They had snowpack right into the beginning of May. So the moisture levels are through the roof, and then they got the heat, which is the two things you need. And it's newsworthy. You can't step outside. And one of them just through last Saturday, the 27th, set an all-time 1 week sales record for Mosquito Shield with 144 customers in 1 week.
Oh my goodness.
And that's a life-changing event for them. And I'm so happy. It's a young couple. They've been grinding it out for 6 or 7 years now. And they have more customers now through this point in the year than they had all of last year, that they added, new customers that they added all of last year. And they'll end up this year probably adding about 600 new on top of what they had. They'll have over 1,200 customers at the end of this season, and their lives are forever changed. And it's just so it's super exciting too. So they did 144, and the other Z in that market did 100 even, right on the number. And so they are the only 4 people that have ever done 100, and 2 of them did it this past week. So those are markets that you can charge top dollar, because the summers are so short. People to pay it, they want to just be able to enjoy their backyards. And so you asked the initial question about how do you know if there's a need for this service. In 2011, so we launched in 2013, but I started the process in 2011 of building the ops manual and the FD, super tedious. And back then it was a lot harder. There's easier now to bring a concept to franchising than it was back in 2011. And but we identified 39 states that had an above average mosquito problem. And there was a bunch that, there was the difference that didn't. California was on the list of someone that we weren't going to put a lot of marketing dollars in to try to grow. Arizona now has a mosquito problem. They've been around for 400 plus million years, depending on who you ask. They're not going anywhere. And then once they get a foothold, it's over. They're there. They're not leaving, so they've got a foothold in parts of Arizona, and it's a problem now. They've got a foothold in Southern California. San Diego was one of the worst areas in all of the US last year for mosquito activity.
I didn't even know that.
And we need an owner there.
Well, hear that? San Diego, we're coming at you. I did want to ask one clarifying question, because, you were mentioning that the service, when you pay in advance, could be, $600 or maybe a discount at a show. You hear about it for $500. Is there a monthly, or the people, that are just paying monthly for this service? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have some locations in down in Florida, and then, real Southern Florida, where they are probably close to a true 12-month business. So gotcha. They'll do a 12-month payment plan. What we've learned in other markets, Lance, so we use Minnesota for an example, where they've got about a 5-month business. The monthly payment plans, what we've learned, attracts the wrong audience. We're not, like I mentioned earlier, we're not for everybody. We're not a Groupon model. Right. Not everybody is going to stick with you. And when you tend to sell it monthly, you're attracting someone that comes and goes as a customer. They're not our true audience. Yeah. We have an 80+% retention rate. So for people considering,
I wanted to make sure you brought that up, because that's what I know you guys have a premium model, a huge retention rate. Say it again. How much on that retention rate?
84% last year. So we won't know this year's numbers really till next July, believe it or not, because you got to give it time for it to kind of wash out. But year over year, we're in the low to mid 80s. It's never changed. So 84% last year. That is amazing. Home services like lawn care, pest control, they run in the 50 to 60% category. So they're always having to replace half their customer base year over year. So when you talk about recurring revenue, and know that 80+% are coming back. 8 out of every 10 customers. And Lance, they're staying with us for life. They don't leave. So, going after the right customer to begin with, while your growth might be a little slower and your acquisition cost might be a little more, the ROI is massive because they come back and they stay with you. And then they rave about you. So you've got 65% mouth business. So it's just a really strong model from that standpoint.
Love it. Last question I have for last big question, tough question. Employees. A lot of people talking about it's difficult to find employees. This seems like a fun job. You're not even going really inside anybody's house. And tell me about that. Are franchisees having an easier time these days?
I don't know that it's easy. Like, again, keeping things real and honest, I think we do really well. We have franchisees 10 years in that still have their first employee. So, I mean, the margins are really strong. So if you look at the closest industry to us is lawn care. So somebody coming out and fertilizing your lawn, 4 or 5 times a season with, fertilizer, crabgrass control, grub control, like, a lawn care service that most homeowners are used to. We're able to pay a similar technician about 40% more. So we're able to draw from like industries because it's a better quality of life. It's only 5 days a week. We never service on a weekend. That's when the homeowner's trying to enjoy what they're paying us for. So we really train our franchisees that all costs never go out on a Saturday or Sunday. And, lawn care companies are often running on Saturdays because it's a short season and they got a short window of opportunity. So these technicians are on the road seemingly almost every day. They're getting home at 6 or 7 at night. Our Mosquito Shield franchisees that have technicians, they're getting home at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. They've got a great quality of life. They get paid really well. So we do well with that from a retention standpoint. But at the end of the day, that is your only limit to scaling is you need a technician for every truck. If you want to add trucks, you got to have somebody behind the wheel. We're upfront about that. We have great resources for our franchisees. We've got a benefits solution program so they can offer health benefits when they're putting a help wanted ad out there. Whether anyone takes it or not, it looks really good on an ad, a help wanted ad. Benefits are available. So that's a big plus. So there's a lot of perks and incentives that we're able to give to our franchisees to then pass along as they're trying to hire, the right people. And we've been in this industry forever. So we do a lot of the interviewing for them. Lance, you're a brand new franchisee. You're coming from white collar world. You may never have interviewed or hired somebody, and somebody shows up at your doorstep and says that they're the best technician ever. We can vet that and tell you if they are or not. So, so we knowing that is probably the only true limitation to growth, we really try to get involved in that process and help our franchisees with that.
Love it. You guys have given me and given the audience some amazing information on Mosquito Shield, and thank you. So final thoughts, final words of wisdom from both of you. Kelly, you get to go first.
I think one of the things that a lot of people, especially this time of year, Lance, we're talking right now at the beginning of June, and people have that fear and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to miss out on the mosquito season at this point in time. Maybe I should look at this next year. Like, let's look at something else. And I caution people, don't come in with that mindset. Michael always talks in terms of, people say, well, when's the best time to start a business? Michael, when's the best time to start your Mosquito Shield business?
Well, as soon as you can, but I just heard a phrase, Kelly, that I've been waiting to share with you, because Lance, we have this conversation all the time about frustration when people don't want to start because they have so much to learn in their first 12 months. They should do it anytime. Yep. But I heard someone say, and you probably have heard this, but the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago, but the second best time is today. Right, because like 30 years ago, you can enjoy the shade, you can hang a swing from it, right? But too late. But now the second best time is today. So the same thing with this business.
I love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Time flies.
Yeah, sure does.
Michael, final thoughts, final words of wisdom from you.
Yeah, first of all, a big thank you for this format, because I feel like the more chance we get to share the story, the more people hear it, the more chance that they get. And whether it's with us or not, just empowering people to take that risk. That was a big thread throughout today's conversation of, jumping in and doing it. The best time is now. It doesn't matter what's happening in the economy. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life. Like, you've got to take it, whether you do it in small steps or big steps. If it's been in the back of your mind, then you are you have the ability to take that risk and do it. And I hope that some of the stuff we shared, and love it to be a consideration for Mosquito Shield, because we're really proud of the brand that we've created over the last 22 years, certainly the last 10 in franchising. And I like to think that, it is a little bit of a culture of exclusivity, right? We want you to want to be a part of it. And the bigger we've gotten over the years, that becomes easier. But that's something that's been true to us since day one, right? That culture of exclusivity is, let's bring in the right people and let's grow this. And to have, let me do the math for a minute, but to have eight of our original 10 franchisees still in this business is still thriving 11 years later, is my win, right? That's my personal win, because they are, they're friends. They text on holidays. They text when they know something's going on personally. Like, that's the reward to this. And that's not always the case. There's a few in that 10 that they're great franchisees and they do their job, but it's very business-like. But invest in the process, make that decision, and I hope that we were able to offer some help in that, with our time today.
You guys were absolutely awesome. Michael and Kelly, Mosquito Shield, such a great franchise. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Lance.
Thanks, Lance.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.